Good morning, everyone. My name is Julie Langford, and I'd like to start by going back to the year 2000 when I was a senior in high school here in Texas. We had just returned from spring break when the principal called me into her office and told me that the chances of me graduating weren't looking too good. Now, here is my report card from that year. I had always kept my grades up and remained on the honor roll. So, what could have warranted this trip to the principal's office? Now, if we scroll over just a tad to my absences, you can see the first 9 weeks, the second 9 weeks, the third 9 weeks, and the fourth 9 weeks. Yeah, I got my act together real quick after that chat with the principal. See, I absolutely hated school growing up. I skipped a lot of classes and got in a lot of trouble and nearly didn't graduate. But the thing is, I love to learn. I just hated school. And I hated it because the system that I was a part of, and I know that I'm not alone in this, but the system I was a part of was grounded in these standardized methods of instruction. This I say, you do, one size fits all approach. We're all students. We're expected to learn the same thing in the same way and at the same time. Read this textbook chapter and answer the questions at the end. Memorize these facts, these equations, and now here's your multiple choice test. Success was quantifiable, and I was successful because I was able to memorize that information just long enough to take the test. And with about a 70% attendance rate, I graduated with honors under those standards. Now, the following year, I moved to Australia and I went to university, and it didn't take long to realize just how inadequate those standards were. Within my first week of classes, I was sitting in one of those big lecture halls, and the professor is talking about the circulation of the euro, and I'm listening, taking notes, being that passive recipient of information that I'd always been. When he turns to me and he says, "And you, how about you? What are your thoughts?" And I just froze. He wasn't asking me to regurgitate information. That I could have done. He was asking for my perspective, my opinion, and I didn't know how to respond. And so I just looked down. I could feel my face turning beet red. And while I didn't know it at the time, that moment right there marked the origin of my story, my why, my reason for becoming an educator. And see, I had not been prepared to navigate life outside of the classroom. Those foundational life skills like creative and critical thinking, or the ability to formulate opinions and have independent thoughts, those weren't part of my school experience. I had never explicitly been taught these skills. And now Simon Sinek, in his brilliant book, Start With Why, he talks about how the most successful leaders and organizations, they are so because they operate and communicate in a way that inspires and unites. They start with why. They lead with their purpose. And it's this strong sense of purpose that gets them out of bed every morning, not what they do or even how they do it, but why they do it. And so I started to think about this in terms of education. Of course, as educators, we know what we do. We educate beautiful minds, we plan lessons, we collaborate with colleagues, we engage with parents. We are life coaches, we are curriculum designers, and just the most masterful of multitaskers. This is our what. These are the jobs we perform, the services we provide. And the way we do all of this is our how. Our instructional methods, our teaching approaches, our how we do our what. Our why, though. How many of us can very clearly articulate or even remember why it is we do what we do? And I don't mean to make money or to pay bills. I mean why we became educators in the first place. Because it is so easy to get caught up in the grind of planning and teaching and the many responsibilities that we have, that our reason for becoming educators gets lost. But if the most successful organizations and leaders are the ones that are guided by their why, the ones that inspire trust and loyalty, then how can we bring this concept to education? How can we make this come alive in our schools? See, I've been teaching for just over 20 years. I've been living and teaching overseas. And I have seen firsthand the impact of schools that are guided by their why. Schools whose mission statements aren't just words on the wall, but are manifested in their day-to-day interactions. Schools whose leaders lead with purpose. They lead with their why. Leaders who communicate and think and act in ways that inspire, because it is this focus on purpose over product or process that resonates with people on an emotional level and makes them want to be a part of something that they genuinely care about. You see, it is purpose that moves people from compliance to commitment. And right now, there are far too many schools that are operating without a clear sense of purpose. They're focused on the what and the how. What do we need to teach and how are we going to teach it? They've lost sight of their why. But the truth is, our why, our reason for becoming educators, it's more important than any curriculum or standardized test score. It's what keeps us going. It's what gets us out of bed every morning. It's what gives meaning to what we do. It reminds us that we are here to shape lives, to inspire curiosity, and to foster a love of learning in our students. You see, we all have a gift. We were drawn to education for a reason. Going beyond academics to prioritize skill development, that's my why. And today I invite you all to reconnect with yours, to remember why you became educators in the first place. Because when we anchor ourselves and our students in purpose, when we remember our why, our work in education becomes more than a job. It becomes a vocation, a true, meaningful pursuit where every lesson has purpose and every interaction is an opportunity to inspire. Thank you.